Leadership means guiding yourself and hopefully a group of people with you to something different, better. I think leadership means doing it even when it is hard, doing it even when you're not actually clear and certain of the precise direction. I'm not sure that I understood exactly what my career would be like, but I knew a few things. I knew I wanted to be able to do justice-related work. I wanted to use the law to improve people's lives. I wanted to think of myself as a civil rights lawyer. And if I got to do that, if I got to have, as my day job, working in civil rights, working for justice, I think I would have always had a career fulfilled. That's how I felt then, and it's really how I feel now. Some of it is that my parents' families, my father and my mother's family, were plaintiffs in school desegregation cases, and so I also grew up thinking about the law, understanding the law from that perspective, from it being this powerful tool, and I wanted to be a part of that. I was thinking recently about my effort to get my first fellowship, and I applied for a few fellowships, which is usually how people start public interest careers. People who that first job, that first fellowship that they may not get, and that they might decide that this work isn't for them because of it, and it's just not the case. I think people have to understand that you can keep trying. Maybe that second job will be that right job. So I think about my first year at law school, and I felt so out of place so often. I was way in my head, really believing and maybe not sure how I got here. I think that I struggled with that my first year in particular. I was like, there are all these people who have done all of these amazing things in the world. And the fact that I was in law school with them and learning alongside them, I think I got in my own way a bit. And so if I had to do anything differently upon starting law school, I would have just been clear that I'm enough and I deserve to be here. And that would have shifted, I think, how I saw myself in that time. And what's interesting is some of the people that I met here while in law school, they're my closest folks in the world. We still get together really regularly. And I'm not sure that if I had stayed in that space, really concerned and worried about whether or not I deserved to be here, that I would have had these life relationships across so many different spaces. I think Yale teaches you how to be not just a lawyer's lawyer, but the sort of lawyer who asks questions beyond the sort of squares of the law. And by that I mean it was a place where you were pushed to think really critically about, the why behind a rule, which becomes super important when that rule changes, when there's a new rule or you're forced to invent a rule. And so before law school, I don't think I fully understood that there were a range of policy-related legal jobs in the way that I understand them to be now, or why having a law degree was important. It's not required for a lot of them, but actually makes a difference. And so that sort of way of thinking and approach, grounded deeply in legal principles, It's a thing that I first learned here, and it is a thing that our early career lawyers at the National Women's Law Center become very skilled at. At the same time, I really think that the work of leading an organization, and an organization like the National Women's Law Center, it opens up the chance to pull on a range of tools outside of the legal set. So to pair storytelling and narrative with law and policy work is really exciting and fulfilling for me. I sometimes wish that I had somehow gotten, management, business, and communication skills along the way, because those are all things that I learned by doing, right? Basic skills around managing and leading teams. A lot of the work in social justice organizations are done in coalition. Building, navigating, and holding a coalition together, that takes tremendous skills. Especially now. It has always been hard, but there are days where I feel like maybe what I really need is some level of skill around therapy and bringing in an ability to understand people in a very different way, so that you understand what makes people tick, what makes people stay together. Having the skills to sort of do that, create containers where those conversations can happen, to guide and build plans, those are not typically in the skill set of most lawyers, especially if you are, really focused on the drill down of this is the law, how it operates. And then the other thing that has become more and more important is around, communications and messaging. And sometimes the lawyers will try to get in a room with communications people and be the brand and messaging people, and it always goes wrong. It is, it's an actual skill to understand and to have it be data-driven. And so those are a range of things that feed in to the work that I'm hoping there are other ways to get people better skilled than I was when I first started. I'm really worried about the experiences that people have gotten over the last couple of years. And, at the National Women's Law Center, our internships have been virtual the last 2 years. And what that has meant is that people usually end up getting to know their team very deeply. But it's a very different experience, I know, than the experience students were having before, where they got to have a better understanding of the work that we did across, and they got to meet people beyond the people they were working with most directly. And so the first thing I have for folks to think about is you need to build those people relationships. Whatever your next role is, figure out how you do that, both with the folks who you're working with most directly, but beyond that. Because especially in your early jobs, it may be that you have started out believing strongly that you want to do one thing, and that you discover loving something else, and you don't want to close that door. You want to open as many doors as possible. And I think it's going to be hard over the next couple of years to do that. So, and some organizations will be better than others about creating opportunities. And what I would say is, if you don't see that opportunity already created, then you can make a suggestion. Organizations right now are overwhelmed with a range of administrative questions, ranging from what does return to work look like? How do I hold hybrid space? They are overwhelmed with a long list of questions. They may not get to your precise question for 2 years, and you've already missed that 2-year window. So I would raise it and say, I'm looking I'm looking to build relationships. What's the best way to do that here? Are there opportunities, or can we build one?